You have seen this image before, perhaps in a church, perhaps at a grandmother's home, perhaps on a small card given at First Communion. The Sacred Heart of Jesus, a heart burning with flame, surrounded by thorns, radiating light outward in all directions. For 2,000 years, people have looked at this image and understood it as a symbol of religious devotion, of Christ's suffering, of love through pain. But today I want to show you something that no one has shown you before. Look at this image again, not with the eyes of religion, with the eyes of the formula. Because what you are looking at is not a symbol of doctrine. It is a surgically precise visual description of the mechanism of enlightenment. The formula, E equals H times L squared, was painted in images 2,000 years before it was written in letters, and it has been in front of our eyes the entire time. Let us read the image, slowly, element by element. The thorns, this is H. The thorns around the heart represent the compressed, suffering, fearful heart. The heart squeezed by pain, by fear, by loss, by the dark night. H, in the formula, is exactly this, the heart at its point of greatest compression. And here is what every mystical tradition understood, but could not explain. At this moment of maximum compression, the defenses of the ego are down. The walls crack open, the door is open. The thorns are not the enemy of love. The thorns are the condition that makes the explosion of love possible. The flame, this is L squared. Look at the flame burning at the top of the heart. It does not burn despite the thorns. It burns because of them. In the formula, L squared is the moment of decision. When the heart is in compression, when the thorns are tightest, a person consciously chooses to radiate love. Not love as an emotion, not love as a warm feeling, love as a deliberate vibration sent outward from the chest toward everything, without reason, without conditions, without guarantees. This is the flame, not a decoration, not a metaphor. The precise moment when love ignites inside the compression of suffering. This is why it was squared, because when love meets compression, the result is not addition, it is explosion. The radiance, this is E. And now look at the light around the heart, radiating outward in all directions, not contained, not directed at one person, toward everything. This is E, enlightenment. Not a reward, not a destination, the natural result of the equation. When H, the compressed heart, meets L squared, love ignited in that compression, E is the inevitable consequence. The divine frequency of love, unconditional, all-permeating, radiating outward from a single human chest in all directions. And the cross? The cross is the point of conflict. At the moment of greatest compression, at the peak of the thorns, there is a choice. Will you collapse inward? Will you submit to the fear? Will you let the thorns extinguish you? Or will you ignite the flame? The cross is not a symbol of suffering, it is the symbol of the decision point, the exact moment the formula activates. Now look at what Christ did on the cross, not symbolically, mechanically. He was at the point of maximum compression, betrayed, abandoned, tortured, every physical and emotional resource exhausted, the ego completely broken, H at its absolute peak. And in that state, at the moment of greatest suffering, he did the one thing the formula requires. He radiated love toward those who had nailed him there, toward those who mocked him, toward those who had fled, toward the world. Father, forgive them. This is not a religious statement. This is the activation of L squared. Love, squared, fired from a heart at the absolute peak of compression. And the result? E, the explosion of consciousness that every subsequent tradition called resurrection, enlightenment, transcendence, the kingdom of heaven. He did not teach the formula, he lived it. And then the church took that living demonstration and turned it into doctrine, into a symbol of suffering to be worshipped, into a debt to be carried, instead of an instruction to be followed. The image of the Sacred Heart was painted to show us exactly what he did. Thorns, compression, H, flame, love ignited in that compression, L squared. Radiance, the enlightened state, E. The formula was never hidden. It was painted. In every church, on every altar, in the hands of every child at their first communion. We simply never knew how to read it. And now look back at all the teachers we examined in video number 4. Buddha beneath the tree. Years of ascetic compression, the ego stripped bare. H at its peak. And then, in that state, compassion without limit, radiated outward toward all beings. L squared. E, the same formula. Jesus on the cross, as we have just seen. H, L squared, E. Every Christian mystic who wrote of the dark night of the soul, the compression, H, the love that emerged from it, L squared, the union with the divine, E. Rumi, separated from Shams, the compression of loss, and from that compression, poetry burning with love for all of creation, H, L squared, E. Every single one of them lived the formula, and every single one of them stopped at the same threshold. They could not explain the mechanism, they did not have the language, they did not have the formula, but they had the image. The Sacred Heart was the formula they could not write in words, so they painted it. Thorns, compression, H, flame, love ignited in that compression, L squared, radiance, enlightenment, E. The simplest, most complete description of the mechanism of enlightenment ever created by human hands, 2,000 years old, in every church. Unread, Christianity gave us a powerful symbol, not a symbol of doctrine, a symbol of a universal mechanism, the mechanism that Christ lived, that Buddha lived, that every mystic who was ever compressed by suffering and chose love in that compression lived. The Church gave this mechanism a name, the Sacred Heart. The formula gives it a name too, E equals H times L squared. They are the same thing, said 2,000 years apart, in two different languages, about the same truth. The next time you see this image, in a church, in a home, in a museum, you will see something different. You will see the thorns, and know, this is H, the compressed, suffering, open heart, the door. You will see the flame, and know, this is L squared, love ignited from within the compression, the key. You will see the radiance, and know, this is E, the explosion of consciousness outward, the result. The formula was always there, painted by human hands who experienced the truth but could not yet write it in the language of mathematics. Now it has been written. And now, for the first time, you can read the image. The book this series is based on is called E equals H times L squared. It is what the Sacred Heart image was always trying to tell you. The link is below. The formula was never hidden. It was only unread.